My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice cold. I'm only here to even a score. Whoa. My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice cold. We down right now, but did it before. Whoa. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up.
What up, Night Nation? It's your boy Roger, and welcome to the United Ones podcast, episode number 92. We're getting closer and closer to that elusive number 100. As a reminder, we are the only podcast that features a former UCF national champion, a former UCF radio host, an ESPN analyst and hoops player, an infamous rapper, our resident influencer and IG star shooting the breeze, talking UCF sports. And remember to like and follow us on YouTube, IG, and check out the 70-plus teams and conferences in the College Huddle, Big 12 Huddle, and Fourth in Florida. So more to come, but we've got a lot to talk about. It is the off season, but we have two new commits, two verbal commits, I'll say that, to talk about, one of which we previewed last week and we told you might be coming our way. In addition to that, UCF dropped the new uniforms. We speculated about those last week, so we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about unionizing football players now. Texas State officially moves. Which games you get excited about, more progress on the stadium. UCF Hoops is dropping season ticks. We'll get into a little listener love, and Josh will give us his sometimes funny fact of the week and quick update on other sports that Alan does not watch. But before we get to all of that, we need to bring someone special to the stage. We only get his time every once in a while. We really could have used him last week, as we mentioned, given the names that we were dealing with. But without further ado, let's bring to the stage our very own AP from KC, the original Nightline, Andrew Fagley. What's up, bro?
Hey, how you guys doing? It's been a while.
It's been a hot minute. Football season, it is almost here. I would ask you to do the hair flip, but it doesn't work for you. So there we go. All right. We got a hair. All right. Nobra is not with us this week. He is hanging out with his family, and Ben is celebrating a birthday, which means that last but not least, but always last, Josh Lazar. Welcome to the stage, Josh.
I will tell you that I want to welcome the world to the United Ones podcast as the last person on the podcast.
You're always first to be last. So
yeah. The first last. Last.
Well, on this week's show, I'm excited. We don't have any difficult names for Andrew to try out, unfortunately. Otherwise, hilarity would ensue. But he is going to give us some of his takes on this week's show. So I'm looking forward to that. But let's go ahead and get right into it. We'll talk a little.
We're trying to get somebody else to join us too.
Oh,
Ooh.
yeah.
Ooh.
A special surprise kind of
That would
thing.
be
Hopefully
great.
it works out. We're working on it, I believe, right now.
Well,
Yeah, there's a special potential surprise person if he can squeeze
These things
this into
take
his
time.
agreement.
It's very
About
precise
about the
negotiation. I'm not the greatest negotiator in the world, like some are.
right now is a very interesting time if it's the person I'm thinking, because tomorrow is a big deal for them. So if it's who I think it is, that might be interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Enough
Could
of
be.
foreshadowing. Maybe.
Could be. The link has
Could be.
been sent.
Well, we'll see if our mystery someone pops in, a good friend of the show and a good personal friend. So be excited if he pops in here. But before we get to that, and hopefully he makes his appearance known, let's talk a little UCF football. Two new verbal commits this week. The first one being defensive back Amarion Queen, 3-star defensive back. He's 6'2", 185. So again, this is one of those players, like I told you, we were looking for a little bit of length on some of our defensive backs now. 180 pounds. He's got plenty of room to grow into that frame, but I'll be honest with you, at this level, somewhere around 190 pounds to 195 pounds is probably going to be his playing weight full time. So he's not that far off as far as the frame is concerned. However, it also gives us it gives us a ton of options there. He's also in the mix when we say defensive back. He's going to be probably projecting to play safety. He's out of Stuart, Florida. And as far as his opportunities were concerned, he isn't as highly recruited. He's another one of those 5.5 middle of the road kind of folks that haven't quite broken out, but show a lot of promise. He had UCF, which he committed to. He had Michigan State. He did have Pitt offer. Purdue offered. He had visits to both Pittsburgh and Purdue, so we did manage to wrangle him in. And then, unfortunately, the Cows also offered, but we knew that they didn't have a chance with this guy whatsoever. His tape looks really, really, really good, but I think it's interesting that he took the official visit to UCF, and then he went to Pitt, and then he committed to us. So, we've kind of been in a recruiting battle with Pitt lately. A lot of our players, Sincere Edwards last year, we lost to Pitt. He's obviously back with us this year, which is really going to help the defensive line out. But we've been in a lot of battles with Pitt lately, and it's nice to see us actually win a few because a lot of them, unfortunately, we lost. So that being said, he is a two-way player. He's our 13th overall commit. So he does play wide receiver. In high school, he played wide receiver and cornerback. Had 22 tackles last year, 5 PBUs, 3 interceptions, 413 tackles, and 5 TDs on offense. So true two-way player. He's the number 174th ranked player in the state of Florida. And has a grand total of 6 P5 offers. So I'm excited to get him on board. Like I said, from a frame perspective, he matches up exactly what we're looking for. South Florida kid. He's at Martin County, so Stuart, Florida. So anytime we can get a kid like that, I'm really excited. And if we can rub it in Pitt's face, the more, the better. So screw you, Pitt. You heard it here first. Or as the West Virginia fans like to say, eat, spit, Pitt. Well, there we go. Since we are a clean show, I won't say what I actually would. Outside of that, we previewed this last week. We talked about a potential flip. If you watched our shorts, you saw it on there as well. Running back Arthur Lewis did end up committing. He flipped from Liberty. He's a 3-star from Jacksonville. He's on the smaller in the stature standpoint. He's 5'9", but he's fast. And
where have we heard that
familiar?
Huh? Who's the coach now? Does he like small running backs? Yep.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, it's okay because we mentioned it when we kind of previewed it last week. We told everybody that he was the potential flip. He's an all-purpose back. He's 5'9", and right now he's only 182 pounds, so he needs to put on a little weight. I'd love to see him get on whatever RJ Harvey was on. I don't know if you've seen pictures of him when he was on campus this week, but he looked ridiculous. Dude is a monster. He's a 5.6 rating. As far as his offers, he had mostly smaller schools, App State, Arkansas State. He did have Iowa State that was in the mix and offered, the Cows again, and the rest are smaller G5 schools. He's out of Jacksonville, but he's a real burner. So he's a track guy as well. He runs track. And he's a guy that, like you guys mentioned, is kind of like that AK mold, like small, light, super fast kind of guy. So I'm really excited to get him because he gives us that speed back, kind of all-purpose back kind of guy. He also catches out of the backfield. So, he says, in his commitment, he was saying that he also compares like to Jaden Nixon. Jaden Nixon is someone who's already on our roster this year. Excited about having him. But at the end of the day, this is this speed back guy that's going to spurt out of the backfield, or he can pass it in the flat and make you miss with his acceleration if he gets into the second level. So again, 5.5, 5.6 type players still haven't played their senior year, seem to be solid guys, but are not the P5 or the 5-star / high 4-star guys that have the physical attributes that most that you see that are quote unquote ready for the Power 5 programs. But this is back to what we were before. You've got someone who can pound it in the middle. We've got a stable of backs there. This year it's going to be Miles Montgomery. But this is a kid that will absolutely kill it. He had a junior season that was nuts. 1,666 yards and 21 touchdowns on 149 carries in 1 year as a junior, and 244 receiving yards and 3 more scores on 21 receptions. So if you're counting, this kid accounted for 24 touchdowns in his junior season. That says a lot. So super excited about him. Do you guys have any other thoughts that you kind of want to add?
I'm just glad to get more people on campus at this point. It's weird because at this, like, where we're at now is you just need to get as many new people in the door as possible, because every year there's this massive amount of turnover. So I like players who are ranked in Florida. I like people who from Liberty. I like when we take people from Pitt. All of this is great, and to what we talked about, at least with Art Lewis last week. Andy was talking about it. Yeah, this is. Scott Frost has a type when it comes to running backs. He has a type, and that type is on the smaller side, hard to see with a large offensive line, and fast as all get out.
Yeah, and I definitely see that in him. But again, this is a kid that knows how to score, right? Whether he's receiving out of the backfield, which I like. I like it when I see guys that are not just pounding the rock, but also have good hands coming out of the backfield, because that gives us options, especially if we go back to a 2-back set. Frost's original offense was a 2-back set. And we did really, really, really well with a 2-back set. It gives you a lot of options when it comes to, it gives you a lot of options when it comes to, do you do a jet sweep, or are you having to watch the edge, or can you slip somebody out into the flat and get them the ball so that they can create distance that way. So there's a lot of different things that you can set up off of that, especially with a not necessarily run first, but mobile quarterback, which our quarterback room is full of guys that are mobile.
It'll be interesting to see, like, these are all the things that we just don't know, like, because Scott Frost is back. So it's been a while since I've been on here, and honestly, it's hard to follow, but just the things that I'm thinking about talking about all this, and kind of reminiscent in my head, the things that I can remember. But small running backs, that double punch back there with 2 guys going, who knows where they're going. That's exciting football. And I hope that works in the Big 12. I worry a little bit that it didn't work in the Big 10. We'll see what happens in the Big 12, but guys like we were just talking about are the perfect kind of guys. And he can get guys from anywhere too. It doesn't matter where they're from. He knows what good football players look like and play like.
He is literally getting them from everywhere. We've been talking about Connecticut. We've been talking about Arkansas. We've been talking about New York. We've been talking about Florida. We got Georgia kids. I mean, it's definitely
well, kids still remember who he is, and they remember what he did here. So they can absolutely kids talk about it in the interviews that we hear. They're like, I wanted to play for Frost. So I really, I'm so excited still. I can't wait. I keep probably one of the last things I put in the little chat that we have is it August yet? Like, cause I'm dying. There's no sports on that I like right now except racing. So Canadian football, but it's hard to watch now. Anyway, ESPN doesn't
Well,
cover it.
we do have, I will say this, to your point about people remembering the kids that are coming into the program now, right? So these kids are going to be 17, 18 that we're talking about are committing, right? They were 9 and 10 years old when UCF was undefeated. So think about that
They know.
from that perspective. But
They know.
the other part about it, that's interesting is I was actually somewhere. Gosh, where was I? I was somewhere like 2 weeks ago, and I was talking to some guy in another state, and he's like, "Yeah, UCF, love what they do. You got to respect them. They've got a good program, all of this stuff." So, in spite of the mess that we've had lately with under Gus Malzahn, we're still on the lips of a lot of people. So, that's a good thing, right? The kids themselves, I mean, if they grow up, as 9 or 10 years old and they're impressionable and they're watching football and they play football, that bodes well for UCF later on. But that we need to kick it into gear, because if they were 10-year-olds, pretty soon it was 8-year-olds, and then it'll be 6-year-olds, and they won't remember that magical run. So we need to make sure that we're duplicating at least some of that success soon. All right. Let's go ahead and swivot off of that topic. Swivot.
Andrew doesn't swivot. That's okay.
Oh, it was pivot. Now it's swivot.
Yeah,
boy.
we've changed it to swivot.
We see Andrew is a frequent listener to the Nighted Ones.
Well, no, I remember having this conversation a while back ago. I honestly don't have time, guys. I'll make more time, obviously, once the football
Well, you promised
season
football
starts.
season,
Listen,
right? Football season.
Listen, Andrew, you're not alone. Like, I'm trying to find things for other sports, and I have about as much as UCFnights.com
Hey, I did this for a long time. I know what it's like, and I don't think we didn't. At first, especially, we didn't miss very many shows or whatever. I know how hard it is. I'm so happy that I don't have to do any of that stuff anymore. I can come on here when I want to. It's like I'm retired. It's freaking awesome. But I'm not, because I work a lot. But
well, your beard's a lot grayer, so I guess that means as mine gets to yours, that means I get to retire too.
Yeah, it's just, it is what it is.
It happens, man. It's happening to me.
This is just a couple of weeks of not shaving. That's all it is. It wasn't intentional. I had the goatee, but the rest grew in.
Well, it happens. It happens to the best of us, except for Josh, because Josh is older than I am and looks younger than I do when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
I can get just for men as well.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
I just hide it by going head on, because if I just go like this,
yeah, there you got it.
Welcome to the UCF Sports Podcast called The Nighted Ones, where we're talking about our gray hairs all the time.
All right. Yeah.
It's all right.
So as we talked about with the swiveting, so we've got some more some other news, UCF and not UCF related, but I'm going to start with UCF related. So we talked about the uniforms last week and what we expected them to be, and Ben said he didn't really expect them to be that big of a difference, that he expected them to be kind of like a modern take or subtle changes, and it seems to be that was the case. Now, I won't preview this too much, because our listeners actually had a lot of comments on the YouTube channel to talk about that. But I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts. What
they didn't want to talk about it, or they did?
They did want to talk about it.
Oh.
I said I don't want to talk about it now, because I'll get into what they said when we get there on our listener love section. But for right now, I want to get your guys' opinions. So some of the things that they did, it seemed like they were hearkening back to all the major successful accomplishments that UCF had, changing the lettering, changing the Pegasus on the shoulder, doing a perforated jersey. So tell me, what did you guys like? What didn't you like? Was it enough of a change? Were you expecting more? Where were you guys at with these jerseys?
I got one thing, and you know what it is. Because we had this conversation in our chat a while ago. I don't like the pea yellow, man. Just it's back, and I'm not happy about it. It's just I don't like the color. I don't know. I mean, I understand it's supposed to be gold, and then Colorado, and there's a bunch of teams that actually have gold, and I don't know. It's part of the lineage, but I just don't like the color. It is what it is.
So
That's what they could pick some other kind of gold besides the pea color. Remember those jerseys?
I liked that like nod towards the Dante Culpepper era. I did, and kind of put the Blake Bortles era. I really do like that around the numbers.
In the earlier, even way back farther, it was that gold.
Yeah. Oh,
it was yellow. So
yeah. I didn't quite. Well, I kind of like that type of yellow. Like the yellow over here is kind of that light faded yellow. Even I went a little darker with the yellow. But I like the concept. I want to see them in real life. But I do like the concept. I like the nods. I like the perforations. I like the bigger numbers, like a more bolder number. I really like the Pegasus wings on the shoulders.
I do like that a lot.
Yeah. I do. And so far, I'm cautiously optimistic. I want to see them in real life though. Sometimes things on photos translate nicely, but in real life they're like, so I think I like the concept. I think this is good and forward thinking, and I want to see them in real life. But other than that, I think it's good. I mean, it's who's in the uniform, not the uniform. But you know what? Some people like looking good while they're doing something, attending a wedding or whatnot, going out on the town, maybe showing up to a business meeting. So, I'm not all about the George O'Leary era where it's like, I don't care about this stuff. It matters a little bit. Not a lot bit, but a little bit. So yeah, I'm excited to see them in real life.
I think it matters in recruiting. I think it matters in branding, right? Who are we trying to be? Are we trying to be the traditional SEC Auburn team that never wears anything but the same uniform year over year, a Big Ten team, or
no, we definitely don't want to be that.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Well, I mean, Gus Malzahn was here is the reason I was saying that, the last uniform, right? But for me, like, I want to get back. I was hoping for more, and obviously Scott getting here and when they ordered him, I hope he can leverage his connections with Nike again, like he did the first time.
Probably.
Yeah, I hope so.
Already. I'm pretty sure that came from, I mean, I would assume anyway, that was probably one of his first phone calls. Honestly.
Yeah, no, I really hope it was. This is a Terry thing. Like we said last week, part of that is, the price point, because it does cost us money to do these things. And then part of it is the timing, right? Because we were doing some cost reduction there for a while. For me, what I like about them, I do like bigger numbers. I do like, and I told you this, and Andrew doesn't like the gold or whatever, but I like the drop shadow that they have on the numbers. I like that they put the little sword points in there as a nod to the 2013 team. I do like the Pegasus is restyled on the shoulder pads. I like the numbers being bigger on the shoulder pads as well and being on there.
Did we have numbers at all on the shoulder pads for the last few years?
I don't think we did. Yeah, no.
That's kind of a new thing, I think, going back a ways. I think that was one of the throwback things.
Yeah. So bringing that back, so overall, are they an improvement over what we had? I think so. I think they look better than before. They definitely look more intricate. Do I want to see more? Yes. But as Ben said, don't expect anything huge. And I think if Scott Frost can leverage those things, I think 2-3 years from now, we'll probably see an expansion on those. Now, what they didn't say is what color combinations were out there, but it looks like they were sticking with black and gold because all the combinations that they showed were black, white, and gold, and that was it. There was nothing else.
Yeah, hopefully they'll bring back like anthracite and stuff like that, because those jerseys were really cool. I thought it was a cool
I should have worn. You know what? I've got one upstairs. I should have just worn that instead of the T-shirt that I wore. If you guys can carry the show for a minute, I'll run upstairs and put one on. But for those of you that don't remember the anthracite, that color, that dark gray color, I think that was the best color that we've had outside of, all blacks or, the Space U kind of the Space Game uniform. So I don't know. What can I say? I like the changes that they made. I wish they would have done more. That's what I would say to that.
Well, I think they showed 4 helmets and they showed, black, white, obviously, and something else. I remember seeing a picture of 4 uniform combinations, like black pants, white shirt, blah, blah, blah. So with all the helmets and all that, even with 4 helmets, you can do a lot. You can always change it up. So there's going to be a lot of combinations, I think.
We'll also have the Space U combination we'll bring out too, right? So, you'll have that too, but still, then they'll do different helmet stuff every single time, but it's still the same 4 basic color combinations. And let's be real, it's 12 games, right? We don't need 12 jerseys, one for each, one. But I would have liked to see.
Cool, though.
Yeah, well, yeah. I would have liked to have them bring back anthracite, that light gray. I've always liked that light gray that they had.
They might. This is actually I think a 2022, 2021 jersey. So it's the same Pegasus wing, but they just kind of zoomed in right on the top without having all the star. They did have the letters,
numbers on
the numbers over on the shoulders, but again, that's like stitched anti-Andrew gold, right? And this was they had this is the 4s that they had for 44. It's just
it had drop shadow too, didn't it?
Yeah, it did have a little bit of drop shadow, and I think
like
gold. Get the anthracite. So this I think was 2022, 21. I think.
Is that black?
This is the black. This is with the Rise and Conquer. So
yeah. Whose was that? Whose jersey was that?
I think it was some kicker.
Okay.
It was.
It doesn't have a name.
I don't know. It's 44, and it was a while back. I gotta check. No, it doesn't have the name in the back. I think they take off. I think the game warns they take off the. Well, at least.
Because of the NIL stuff. That was probably before that, so they had to take the names off.
I wish they had like what the year was. Well, hold on. I'm looking. Oh, this was the first year of the Big 12 because you can see the outline of the
American.
Yeah. So this is probably that last year, but it's a bit of a nod to that. Like I'm not a fan of the armholes with the gold on them.
Yeah.
They're pieces.
Does that have that V-neck on it that's horrible?
Oh, yeah, it does. It's this tight.
Oh, yeah, that one's not bad. But remember the ones that we had, like, it was the piss yellow jersey with a black logo.
Oh, yeah. Are you talking like
Portals? I think the
Joe Burnett. I had one that was Joe Burnett.
So this is the anthracite one,
and it looks just like the one that he had, just because of the colors on the screen. But
it's
a lot lighter.
That's the anthracite. I love that color.
Yeah,
and this was the Pegasus from that time frame.
Yeah,
barely see it. And then the other one that we had during that time, and we had the perforations along the side, was this one I really liked as well.
Oh yeah, that was a even lighter gray, wasn't it?
Yeah, I do
like a rare gray.
I don't remember.
You had one.
All I have is a original first year of Frost number 10. I have, and I originally bought that number 10 because Shaquem was number 10, I believe,
and then
Shaquem
turned to 18,
Shaquille?
I think. Yeah,
Shaquille.
I can't remember which one was.
Anyway,
now you got to find out.
It was one of the two because I tailgated with their parents, and I was like all excited. I'm like, yeah, look. And then I remember saying we could see another 10. This was before Mackenzie had made his thing. We may see the number 10, but now it's obviously a Mackenzie jersey as far as I'm concerned. So.
While I was up there, I should have grabbed I also had one of the other jerseys that they featured as an inspiration. I have one of the original number 8 jerseys from back then, right?
Yeah.
So
I have one of the cheap, perforated, with the number that falls off and all that stuff. I have that one from way back, and I don't remember what number it is.
I did too until it went through the laundry by accident. So, and my wife was very was very upset. But you know what? It's one of those things where it was what was supposed to happen. So Andrew, don't wash it.
Yeah, I'm not a jersey buying guy, really.
Well,
I have
I
a
will tell you
couple.
this: it was a moneymaker for UCF because UCF sold a lot of jerseys. That's one of the things,
Yeah.
right? Like if you have more jersey combinations, and then remember at the time we were also doing those themed games where they would tell you wear anthracite, wear the gray, wear the white, or whatever. So
I
it
hope
is
we're
a
done with that.
moneymaker.
I hope we're done with that.
I don't know. I'd
Something
actually
that I
like to
don't
see
like
it
either.
come back.
Unless everybody does it, and not enough people ever do it. Personally,
Well, I hope I just hope so. For me, final verdict on the jerseys. I like the changes that they made. I wish they would have done more. Let's put it that way. So I do like the fact that they took a theme and took the successful teams and players that we had throughout the years that were historic for the program and
that
incorporated.
is cool. And the video that they made was really cool with the announcement video.
Yeah.
Yep.
Showing those guys playing and kind of, I'm sure there's some young people that probably don't understand any of that stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm not a young person, so I understand.
it's about that, time where some of the, I mean, there, man, when it was really in its heyday, there was a lot of kids that are in high school now that weren't even around or too young to remember it. So that's crazy. It's been a long time. I mean, 2017 seems like it was forever ago now.
Well, it's almost a decade.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Time flies.
Yeah, Trey's gonna be 30 soon. Which is crazy because I remember doing those lunch or those, yeah, like seeing him after games and stuff and talking to him. All right, let's move on to the stadium and talk a little bit about the stadium. So, Josh, you've been on campus. I've seen some pictures. Tell us a little bit more about where we are with the stadium. I did see one of the parking lots got done.
Yeah, so the last day I was on campus for like that full week, they actually opened up that side parking lot and all the trees were in, all that was paved. So that was actually done a couple of weeks ago. And the last time I drove by, and I might be there sometime soon, the last time I drove by, I think there's some orientations going on and the pylons are starting to get really, really tall. So that really, they're it's going to be interesting seeing what they do during the season because we're not that far away. We're like 80 some odd days left. And are they just going to fence it all off and stop doing stuff during games? Like I'm sure
Well, they did say, yeah, they did say that. I mean, their priority right now is the Hagel Gateway or whatever that is. The tower itself is going to be interesting because if you look at the tower, they've already ripped some of the sides of it off, so it looks terrible from the side view.
Oh, it does.
Structurally, the tower is going to become part of this new stadium expansion, so they'll be able to use the tower. They'll have to clear a path to the elevators for people to use the elevators, I assume, or they may just completely have it blocked off. But one problem it's going to create if they do that is the ability for people to enter the stadium because it'll take several of the stadium entrances off. And last year, there were some times where it didn't move too quickly when you were in line to begin with. And then if you usually cut over from softball or over in that direction, there are some areas that you can't walk through anymore between the stadium and the field house and all that other stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how they manage the flow. But what I would say to that is, hopefully, I think that would be more incentive for folks to get to the stadium a little bit earlier, because I do think that if you don't, there's going to be some football that you're going to miss if you just do what you usually do. Now the other thing was too is, and they went to the second story of the concrete pilings. So they've got the concrete pilings up. And if you go to the stadium itself and look at it, there's actually a video of it out there from some Kansas State fan who came by and visited. But if you look at the concrete pilings, they've got both sides. They've got the second concrete piling up that's going to support. So if you want to see what that looks like and how wide it's going to be. Think about where the cabana expanded to the 35-yard line. It's going to be right around the 35-yard line that it's expanded out to. But go by and check it out, and take some pictures or whatever, because they've actually made a lot more progress on that part of it than what I thought they would.
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead, Josh.
It's going to look really, really good when it's done. I would say this semester, this fall, it is what it is. That's exactly kind of what I think.
It's a construction zone. And it's perfect for UCF, right? Under construction forever.
Well, yeah, and if I remember correctly, I think it was E6 was the lot right behind the big board on by the student section. That thing is like you want to go mudding, you could probably do something there. It's
so
just
you mean
dirt.
like parking behind to go to engineering and 99 kind?
No, the parking that's right by the fire station on the backside of the large.
No, I know that. What I'm saying is,
old school,
like it was when you were parking in 99 by the engineering.
100%. Where the Memory Mall is now.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that was fun. I love those wooden pylons there. So sorry for bringing you back mid 30s and 40s UCF alumni, but yeah, it's like that. It's like it's completely it's dirt and gross and construction and awesome at the same time. I wanted to take my car into it, but I'm like, I probably shouldn't.
Yeah, so the idea here is that the football stadium, at least behind it, they'll my understanding was that they've removed all the bricks that lead up to the front of the stadium by the statue there, by the plaza. And so that area is going to, I don't know if they're going to create some path for people to walk there or not. My expectation is that they're not. And they're just going to stop construction, basically. I imagine they'll probably do some of it while folks are like structural stuff while we're away games, etc. But this year is a little weird because we don't have any stretches of time where we're away. We're pretty much home and away for the entire Big 12 schedule. Whereas before you'd get a couple of days where you're going, to different places, and that would have given them time to work on it. But I expect they're going to continue on days that we're not playing, or weekends that we're not playing, or weeks that we're not playing, or that we're away. They're going to work on the structural items as far as that's concerned. But the Hagel Center, it's starting to take shape for sure. All right. Looks like our super secret
didn't happen. I apologize.
It's all
trying, but I understand. It's So should I?
Yeah, sure.
Let's go ahead and talk about it.
So if you're a member of the dungeon, which I'm hoping that a lot of you are, UCFsports.com, it is changing from Rivals to On3 networks, bought by them, I guess. But there's a lot of things where you have to go to the page and your usernames and all that stuff. And there's just a lot of I wanted Brandon to kind of explain some of that stuff. Like, I was one of the first people on the new dungeon today, and it's up. It's not perfect. It's really not till tomorrow anyway. But there's quite some conversation in there now, which is cool. But this is, if you're not familiar, it is the message board for UCF fans. Brandon provides an incredible amount of knowledge and information to all of us. So,
and the people that are there have been there for a really long time. So there's a lot of memories that are there as well. The On3 platform, I will say this, they do have an app. So, and the app's actually pretty slick. If you haven't downloaded it, if you are migrating over, make sure you get the app. You can add.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, you can add teams, even high school teams, to like your favorites or whatever, and it'll bring information from there. So that is kind of cool because it's not specifically web-based, but Brenda does a great job. If you're not a part of the dungeon, you should be. I've been a member there since 2011, I think. So, Brandon is a wealth of knowledge. He's been doing this since he was 18 years old, since I think 98, 99 was when he took over as publisher of that site. And there's no one more connected than Brandon to UCF sports. So definitely recommend that if you can. Okay. So we've talked about the uniforms. We've talked about the stadium. Talking about other things that are new and moving, Texas State is officially a member of the Pac-12. Texas State is officially a member of the Pac-12. How ridiculous does that sound?
What a joke that conference is. I mean, like, what a joke.
They're trying what they can.
Are they better than the ACC?
Are they?
Are they better than the AAC right now? If you look at the team,
I think if they add a fifth, they're not a power conference. I mean, they can't.
No, they won't be.
Yeah, it's still 4. I mean, I think the American's kind of the same way, though. They're pretty equal, because the American is not nearly what it was when we were in it, and it's a bunch of teams. I mean, I don't even know who all's in it now. It's like 24
Memphis
teams or something too, right? Isn't it crazy? Didn't they?
Yeah, they've got a bunch of people from Conference USA that kind of stepped up, right? And there'll be more ripples with this.
I mean, so I don't know. There's the place
the
over
Pac-12,
west.
Yeah,
they're still in there, aren't they?
The Pac-12 is San Diego. Who?
The team in Florida.
The other team
to the west.
Yeah.
Aren't they
in Florida?
Actually, that automatically makes them worse.
Aren't they in the American still?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Did they win the conference?
No.
No.
I'm just saying.
They were celebrating a bowl season last season. It was their first bowl season in forever. So, so you have in the American, you have Army, Tulane, Memphis.
It is cool that they have the armed forces in there.
I agree.
If they had Air Force, then they'd really be cool.
Well, the Pac has Air Force now. So, so you've got Army, Tulane, Memphis, Navy, East Carolina, the Cows, UTSA, which we should all know from Conference USA days, Charlotte, North Texas, Rice, again, we should know some of those names, Temple, UAB, which had kind of a resurgence of the program after Alabama tried to shut them down, FAU, and Tulsa, which for whatever reason had our name while we were in the American. They always had our name, but a lot of Conference USA teams. So the top teams really are Tulane, Army, Memphis, Navy. ECU has fallen off a cliff. They were 5-3 last year and 8-5 overall, which is better than what they were, but they're not the same program that they were. They have the Cows. Tulsa has not really done well. They were 1-7 last year.
Man, aren't you glad to be rid of Tulsa too? Well, Lord have mercy.
Oh yeah,
Tulsa was always a weird one. Like
didn't matter what sport. Didn't matter what sport.
If they went there, period. Right? Like it wasn't that the deal. If
I think they
never won on the road there.
I think one time in basketball, that was it.
Yeah,
I think ever.
That's so weird. That's like, that's sports,
it was like a 20,000 seat stadium too, and like there was never anybody there at the games, and it was so weird that did we play them our undefeated season?
Obviously not.
We had to have.
I wish.
We had to have.
So
at home.
And just a quick correction: Air Force, I think, still is in the Mountain West. The Pac-12 is San Diego State, Boise State, Fresno State, Colorado State, Utah State, Texas State, Oregon State, Washington State, and Gonzaga in basketball.
So I think from a basketball perspective, I think the Pac now is a better conference than what. Yeah. I don't know. I think they might be competitive with like the Big East. I mean, San Diego State was in the championship 2 years ago, right? Gonzaga is always good. Boise State has actually been pretty good in basketball the last 2 or 3 years. They've made it to the tournament. Oregon State, Wazoo have not been good.
Yeah, but that's not a bad basketball conference. And amazingly enough, Coach G.J. Kinney is now a Pac-12 football coach.
He's
Well,
Texas
in a couple
State,
years.
right?
In Texas State, yeah.
Yeah. They did all right the first year, and then the second year, I think they fell off, right?
A little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did not play Tulsa in our 2017 season.
Thankfully.
What about 18?
Probably. Well, let's
Because that was
see.
undefeated too, right?
Yes, regular season it was.
So we must have played them, either didn't play them or played them. I don't know, man. I just don't ever remember winning on the road there.
We didn't play them 2018 either.
Well, there you go.
So we
But
could
I'm so
think-
glad to be rid of them. Like they're one of the ones that like I like to, wave at in the window as we pass by.
That is so
To go
funny.
to Oklahoma State.
I didn't even think about the fact that we didn't play them either one of those seasons, because
crazy.
something would have happened
Yeah.
had we played them
Yeah.
either season. So back to it. What do you guys think overall? Do you think it's the American is a better conference, or do you think the Pac is a better conference right now?
I think they're. I mean, I'd have to see. Like, I need to find it on my computer somehow where I can see.
That's like choosing between a rock and a hard place.
ESPN should have a list.
I want to believe that the Pac-12 might be a better conference. I want to believe. It's just the American has had everything good taken out of it. They have, like, all the properties that were.
Well, Tulane's been pretty good lately. Memphis was good for a while there, right? And then now they've got coaching variability. They just did a new stadium upgrade for the Liberty Bowl. So they completely redid that.
You're really convincing. You're convincing me a lot that I'm.
Do I think? I think the Pac is better. I think they're a better basketball conference right now. You still have the Shockers. I can't
Wichita
remember.
State, but they haven't been too much
since their coach left.
Yeah, well,
or was fired.
Forced out. But
So
with their
this
coach.
is how big that the Pac-12 is. That ESPN hasn't even updated the Pac-12. If you go look up the conference for football on the football page, you look under teams, you go to Pac-12 conference. It lists Oregon State and Washington State. So obviously, I think the American's a little bit better than that.
Well, they're still in flux right now, right?
Well, I know, but I mean, still,
too.
You know what I'm saying? I know but still, that says it for me. I don't know.
That's we're this.
Both of them were decimated. They're like new conferences completely. So
I think the Pac is definitely better. Boise State's a better program.
San Diego State's in there too.
Yep, San Diego State has been playing.
So they rated the Mountain
West. Yeah.
Yeah. So
they're still fighting.
Yeah,
they're still fighting in court over that because they had a scheduling agreement, and part of it was they couldn't poach anybody from the Mountain West. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. They've got a big war chest because they had all that money that when all the teams left, they had a pretty big war chest to go and help these teams to reconstitute, right? But I think right now, as far as football playing schools are concerned, I think that the higher end of the Pac-12 is a little bit better than what the American is. And I think from a basketball conference perspective, they're better as well. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of contract they get, because they're not done. They're planning on adding at least one more school. So it'll be interesting to see. Texas State kind of reminds me a lot of UCF in their growth and how fast they've moved up the rungs of the ladder, right? So it's actually quite interesting because from their stadium, the way that they've moved up, all of those things, they're a young school, kind of like what we were, and they've moved up pretty quick. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them next and what the State University system of Texas will allow them to do as far as, jumping up to the next level if they make it there, but they've got a long way to go. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, I did have one question before we leave UCF football for you guys. I'm going to go through the schedule real quick. I want to know, which game are you looking forward to the most? So it doesn't have to be a home game, but which game are you looking forward to the most? So you've got Jack State versus UCF. You've got North Carolina A&T. You've got UNC UCF. That's an interesting one because we've got Bill Belichick that we're playing. So that'll be interesting.
Maybe.
Scott Frost versus Bill Belichick. When did you ever think that you'd ever hear that, right? UCF.
Does he have some history with him or not?
I don't
Oh no,
think.
he wasn't a Patriot, was he?
No, I
No,
don't
he's on the
think.
Jets, and
And Tampa.
yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah, I don't think he has any history with Bill.
That's
Although,
a cool game though, because
Yeah,
that's gonna draw eyes for sure. Like,
well, I mean,
people are watching Bill Belichick to see if he disintegrates or he's the next god of college football. But
well, let me put it to you this way: the first two games for us should be dubs, right? So
they
if
have to be.
well, I'm just gonna say should be because of 2015. I looked at the 2015 season and we lost to the Cows like 44-3 that year. So that's all I'm gonna say. So UNC, I don't know what their schedule looks like, but it'll be really, really interesting because we both could come in there undefeated, and with Bill Belichick's name, with Frost coming back as his first season back at UCF, that could be a compelling game for a national game on September 20th. They don't have a time locked in for it, so we don't know quite when that'll be, but that tells me that they're probably going to flex, and it may be a pretty high profile game for us early on in the season. So I hope we put together. I think my contention is that I think we will be competitive against UNC. I don't think Bill Belichick completely turned over his roster, and because people just didn't want to play for him, and all the craziness that he's had going on with that young lady that he's had on campus that whole time. I think he's been distracted. I'm not sure
Well,
if
that's what people want to see. They want to see that's the whole story. There's a whole story now, and so
Well,
there's gonna be more eyes on that school in football than they've had in years.
yeah.
well, it's kind of like the Deion Sanders part due. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Exactly.
except
The Deion show. Oh, Lord have mercy, we have to deal with that.
except I think UNC is going to crash and burn. I don't think in between turning over the team and the fact that it's Bill Belichick, unless he's got a hold of that program and team. Some of the assistant coaches were mad because of the antics his girlfriend, soon to be wife, whatever, was having on the field. So I think they're going to be distracted, and I think that bodes well for us. But it will definitely be, I still think that game will be a high-profile TV game because of the storyline with Bill Belichick and the fact that Scott Frost is coming back to UCF.
Absolutely.
So, so then you've got UCF K-State, you've got Kansas UCF.
That's the one I'm excited about.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm not going. I'm not going. I will not. I can't go. But I'll watch it. I'll be watching it. I can't do it. It would be too weird. I don't think I can. See my two schools go at it live.
Well, then after that,
for a little while.
You've got UCF. You've got UCF Cincy after that. West Virginia UCF, Baylor UCF, the space game, which will be at home, which is Houston UCF. I think Houston's going to be a better team. I told you guys this at the end of the last season. They had a really, really good defense. They played a lot of close games because of that defense. They held a lot of good scoring offenses to low totals. They just need to put an offense together. They spent a lot of money in the offseason. Their head coach, which was Willie Fritz, who was Tulane's head coach for a long time. You guys should remember that because he brought that program.
He's brought every program that he's been around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Big time.
I expect big things out of Willie Fritz, and it usually takes him 2 or 3 years to get it, where he wants it to be. He did well at his previous stops before that. Actually, when we had a vacancy, Willie Fritz was a name that I wanted to see for UCF before Tulane scooped him off. He's an old school type football coach, but he seems to do it well everywhere he's been. Then we've got
His
Texas.
offenses are relentless too. Like they'll just like wear you out chasing them all around.
Well, I mean,
what they did to us the last time we played them. I think
I was in NOLA for that game. So for the championship game,
it was really bad.
They had a really good quarterback at that time too.
They did. Yeah.
Then we've got UCF Texas Tech. And that'll be an interesting game because there's a storyline there with a certain Texas Tech player who got paid a bag to leave UCF. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Then you've got Oklahoma State UCF. Oklahoma State fans have got that one circled because we embarrassed them the last time that they were here. They showed up for a space game and they got hammered. And then you've got UCF. We finish out the season, UCF at BYU. Interesting storyline from this week. Their quarterback, who did really, really well, Ratzlaff, was going to be suspended 7 games by the university, basically for student conduct. He is, he's under investigation currently for some alleged sexual. Go ahead, Josh.
Those were dropped, I think, today.
Oh, were they?
I swore I read that.
Like the cases were dropped or what?
Yes.
I'll
check on that real quick because I think that
is he still in the portal or is he backed off of that?
Oh no. So he's leaving. If he's leaving, it's because of BYU's conduct. That's the reason he's leaving. But I believe the honor code violation is why he was leaving. But I believe the alleged victim is dropping her suit against Retzlaff. No word on whether criminal is still an option. So that happened within the last that happened today.
So in other words, he left and she got paid. So that's how
sounds
that
like
out.
it.
So
probably
allegedly. Let me throw allegedly out there.
Who knows? But it is.
There's a lot of money up there.
There is a lot of money up there, 100%. And he was getting paid a lot of money too. BYU, they paid $1 million to a baseball player to get the number 1 recruit for baseball that pitched for them, I think, last year.
Doesn't quite seem right, does it?
No, it doesn't. So that's the schedule. Which one of these games are you most looking forward to?
I'm pretty clear on which one I'm actually looking forward to. It's a weird one, so please bear with me. I'm interested to see, first of all, where we are at, and I'm interested in seeing us playing in Lubbock. I think that Texas Tech game is going to be really, really interesting. Forget taking some of our players by buying them. It kind of is the pay versus pay with money versus pay with sweat, right?
Who is it that transferred to Texas Tech? I can't remember.
The
defensive lineman Lee Hunter.
Lee Hunter, thank you. I just watched the thing with the Rise and Kalia Davis was in my head, and I couldn't get Kalia Davis and Tristan Hill out of my head. But Lee Hunter, he got paid a lot of money to go there.
And again, when it happened, I don't blame him.
I'm not blaming the man at all. I can see why you would do that. I think that's interesting because if we're doing by that time, if we have more than the 4 wins that we hope we have by that time, there could be a lot of things. It might be the high off the Houston game. You have the paid team versus, we got money, but we don't have that money. And
we are dropping $54 million outside of, for NIL contracts. That's what they spent. $54 million. And now they're having to figure out how to do this because now the university, obviously with this 20%, the university is going to pay money, so they are having to
This
adjust
whole
their
thing
NIL
has
budget.
just absolutely freaking ruined college football. I'm sorry. I've said it a million times. I'm going to say it again and again and again and again. I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
I think we all hate what's going on. Most of us hate what's going on right now because it's not formalized. Like
Yep.
there's
No
difference
rules.
between
It's the
no
Wild
rules,
West.
different states. Man, if the NFL worked like this, we'd hate it too. You know, if the NBA worked like this, we'd hate it too.
Yep.
And they already have some things that are just not great when it comes to player transfers and things like that. But I agree. So that's what, like, I think North Carolina is the most obvious answer here. I think at Texas Tech is going to be interesting. I don't know how many people are going to actually go to Lubbock.
You just want to like dodge like tortillas or something. I don't know. You've got some weird fetish about that. I don't know.
No, it's really. I feel like that's going to be an interesting. Hopefully, it'll be an interesting game because
are they the ones that throw the tortillas?
Yeah, that's why they call them Tortilla Tech.
Yeah,
that's weird.
We're going to be fighting for possibly a bowl eligibility and hopefully more. Not sure. They, have probably bought their way into maybe competitive for a championship. I don't know, and I'd love to see how the two shall meet. Right.
Well, listen, them and SMU, they're the reason why we had all these rules in the first place, right? Because Texas Tech, Baylor at the time, SMU, they were all competing, right? So now you've got Texas Tech. I'd like to see us line up against Lee Hunter and see how that works out. Not because I'm mad at Lee Hunter at all for taking the money that he did, but I agree that'll have some interest. Andrew, are you going to say the Kansas UCF game, or what are you thinking?
Well, obviously that one's very intriguing to me. But I was just trying to look it up. I thought I saw somebody predict that Baylor was going to lead the Big 12 this year. Was that correct? Did I actually see that?
Yes. And what's interesting is the Big 12 this year.
I thought I was
actually
hallucinating.
Let me add some color to that. Okay. Yeah. So two things I want to say to that. Number one, this year there will not be a Big 12 coaches preseason poll. They came out and said that they're not doing a preseason poll.
That's weird.
Baylor under Dave Aranda.
I like that.
The reason they're doing it is so they don't influence where we position or start at the beginning of the season, right? Not that you could accurately predict the Big 12 any year anyway. I mean, we had Utah at the top at the beginning of the year and ranked super highly, and then the bottom fell out of Utah. And then, you had some of the other teams like Arizona State was 12th, 13th, 14th, somewhere down there.
It's a weird schedule now that I look at it. I'm sorry.
It is.
I haven't really looked at it as much as I have tonight, and I'm like, we don't play any of the Arizona schools. We don't play Colorado.
No, we don't. But here is the interesting thing that does bode well.
Kansas tour at the front there, though.
Well, you've got Kansas and you've got
Carolina.
You got Kansas and you've got Texas schools, right? So the interesting thing is that all of the teams that were playing this year were they were in the bottom half of the conference. So all of the teams that were playing were in the bottom half of the conference, except I think K-State. K-State
was really good at the beginning of the year, weren't they?
Yeah.
Weren't they like...
They were ranked high, and then West Virginia came on strong at the end and ended up playing in a bowl game. And we kind of started that. As far as Baylor is concerned, Dave Aranda's defense has done really, really well. They maintain the most number of players of any school in the Big 12. So they retained the most schools. They started turning it around at the end when Dave Aranda took over play calling duties again. So they're expecting them to be much better. They showed flashes. For me, definitely interested. I have two games circled, but for different reasons. UNC, UCF, because that's our first litmus test, right? But I don't know how good of a litmus test it's going to be. We can either run the doors off of them.
They still have big kids. They're still a power four freaking.
No, I agree. It's just,
our team, like they just, Yeah, it'll be a test, I think. I mean,
Well, it'll be athleticism versus system, right? Because Bill Belichick has always been a system head coach, and he's going to have the athletes. So depending on how well we put our pieces together, the other part about this is there's a big expectation for both teams that the second portal window, both teams are going to be heavy into the portal there. So neither team you're going to see what that team is going to look like. So it's going to be hard to predict. I just think that the Bill Belichick experiment that early in the season is going to be so much of a distraction that I think that I'm not sure how that game's going to turn out. It depends on how good of a job I think Scott does in bringing the team together and implementing the system. The other game,
Belichick, it's going to be more about the staff, and I don't know who's on his staff, but like, I think he's going to really have to rely on those guys.
Well, a lot of them were not happy with his girlfriend, whatever.
No, I'm sure nobody is. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and so if you have a divided staff because of that, because they don't feel like you're focused on football, that's not a good thing, right? Whereas we have the opposite here from all accounts as far as the staff is concerned. I
personally hope that, I mean, I don't know. I was never a Patriots fan and not really a Belichick fan, so I hope he falls flat on his face personally. I want to see him flounder.
I think all of America does.
What's that?
So, I think all of America does, unless you're a UNC fan, right?
It's bad enough dealing with Dion. Like, I'm so glad we don't play them this year.
This might be the year to actually not play them because they lost all their star power.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully that whole thing just
crashes.
Yeah, but he'll talk even more, and they'll make him even more popular. And
well, the other game I have circled is actually Oklahoma State, and here's why. Oklahoma State almost forced out their head coach, who's been there for years, right? Has been successful for years. So Oklahoma State is going to be like us this year and trying to rebuild. And their head coach, the Skullet was at Houston. the Mullet, and who I was talking about there is Dana Holgerson, right?
Yeah.
But you've got Rich Rod back at West Virginia, so it'll be interesting to see what Rich Rod does with that offense, because there's a potential there for two potent offenses playing each other that are up tempo, and that'll be interesting to see the new West Virginia. And then Oklahoma State, for me, will be interesting because it may be the end of an era for Oklahoma State if we beat them. It'll be another coach that we can put on our door, that we got fired. But it'll be interesting because they have the history, they have the money, they have the head coach. We're kind of in the same boat, and I don't know if we do well, we have the opportunity to get their head coach fired, because he was almost fired last year. So I think that's going to be an interesting game. Either they're going to be really strong or they're going to suck. And Oklahoma State kind of goes through the cycles we used to, where they would, be really, really good, and then kind of, maybe average 500 team, and then really, really good, etc. So I'm hoping this is not one of those really, really good years. And I know there's a lot of skin in the game for Oklahoma State fans. But that UCF West Virginia game, now that I think about it, two head coaches that had success at their programs that came back to the program. So it'll be interesting to see who does it better up in
West Virginia has always been hard. Like, we haven't played well against them.
Well, no, West Virginia has been a good program. They've been a solid program.
Yeah. I mean, they're always tough. So, like, tough kids too. So that'll, I mean, that's a test at that point.
The storyline for me is who's doing it better, right? Is it Rich Rod for the reclamation, right? And coming home, so to speak, and bringing back that former glory, or will it be Scott Frost? So I think there's a storyline there. So we have several games, but I think for me, honestly, UNC UCF will be interesting for me. Oklahoma State UCF will be interesting for me. I'd like to see Oklahoma State UCF because that's pretty close to the end of the season, and we'll know what we have. And I'd like to see where both of our programs go. And I'd really like to keep the streak going against Oklahoma State. Like, I mean, we've beat them in just about everything, so we're their Tulsa, which is kind of funny because it's a reverse Tulsa because they're from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'd like to be their reverse Tulsa if we can.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
So yeah, so that's what we have there. Let's go ahead and swiv it once again.
Swiv it.
Just a quick
Swiv it?
note. Swiv it.
Swiv it.
Oh god.
So a quick note on UCF hoops season tickets renewals have gone on sale for hoops this year. So if you're a hoops fan, tickets are starting at $107 for season tickets for the team. So I don't know what expectations are. We'll get into that with Ben a little bit later in the off season. But yeah, there's a reason they're $107.
Well, I mean, that's behind the basket and really high up. Most of the tickets that are within reasonable view is 180 some odd, with about 510 per seat on the lower, and it's like $1,000 a pop in the cabana or the black and gold zone in the middle. So it is a little bit more than last year. They basically said it's going to be a little bit more than last year, a little bit less in certain areas, and I think they've shrinked the $99 seats, 107 with tax or close. I think they've shrunk that a little bit, but you know what? We need to pay more money to buy a brand new team because everyone's pretty much gone.
Buy a brand new team and buy a brand new coach. So because
that did not happen this season.
No, but this will after this season. So all right. If I'm wrong on that, run it back and that's fine. But I think this is unfortunately the last year of the unfortunately the last year of the Johnny Dawkins experiment, because I like him as a dude, but he doesn't need to be our head basketball coach. All right, let's swiv it one more time.
Or swiv it.
All right. UCF baseball had some good news this week. Meridian LeFou is a top 50 baseball recruit, and he's on campus. So one of the things that's really, really tough when you get really high level baseball players is that you're competing against the draft, right? A lot of these players sign, you get them to commit, but they sign in the draft, and then you don't ever end up seeing them on campus. He's shortstop, third baseman. He also plays a little outfield out of Belmont, North Carolina. Perfect game has him as a 9.5 out of 10. He's 6'2", 187, so good size. He played on the 17U national team. He's a 5-star. And this kid is the type of kid you want to get into your baseball program. Honestly, I don't know how we got him here because he would have gotten paid a lot of money elsewhere. So I don't know if John Giuliano stepped in and made him an offer he couldn't refuse or what happened there. But he is on campus. He was one of those kids that we were looking forward to, top 50 recruit nationally. We were looking forward to, but also with bated breath because he's the type of kid that usually signs in the draft, and he didn't. So that was good.
Hmm.
All right, let's swiv it once again to a little bit of listener love. So shout out, swiv it.
I did.
Yeah, nobody can see that when they're listening, Josh. All right, the new
live.
We got a new subscriber. Well, we had several new subscribers, but this week I was actually able to see him because he wasn't set for private. So shout out to Cardo the Kid. Welcome to the show and being a subscriber. So tell your friends, make sure we're continuing to do that. Again, there were others. We do want to give a quick shout out to Madame Boutique as well. She was active again this week. So she had this is what I was talking about earlier on having some interesting things to say about our show last week. So she starts off with Trey Neal, ... Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, no way if the ACC goes away, the SEC and Big Ten gives us their 2, meaning the playoff spots, because we talked about that last week. Nothing in their history would suggest that they'll throw us a bone. And our response, I did find it interesting that Terry said the 5-11 format was his favorite, his personal favorite, and said it was not the conference's stance. Thanks for listening and commenting. We appreciate you. So, yeah, I mean, the Big 12 made some more noise about coming out and standing firm that 5 and 11 was their preferred playoff scheme, basically, for assigning that. I agree with you, Madame Boutique. I do think that would be the optimal for right now, but because you're right, if the ACC does go away, I think the SEC and Big Ten will make a play. But if it's down to 3 power conferences, I think that part of what they're trying to do with all of this, if you listen to us the last few weeks, and I know you do, what they're trying to do with all of this is basically allow the 3 of the 4 power conferences, they've put this into the legislation, allow 3, they don't need all 4 power conferences to basically agree to autonomy conference changes, right? So the Big 12 has been playing nice with the SEC and the Big 10. The ACC did that alliance thing and really slowed down the playoff expansion and peeved off the SEC and ESPN. And we know what happens when you get that combo together, right? So, I think it actually puts the Big 12 in a positive position because it seems like they're setting the stage to eliminate one of the power conferences that's left over anyway, and consolidate that power into the 3 conferences. So it'll be interesting, and that's why I had brought that up. Next, you said, this is in reference to our comments about Wally. She said, absolutely not. Possibly even more than Frost, maybe only slightly. I want Wally to work out. If you're paying attention, you can see he has the mind and eye for being a head coach and absolutely has the heart for this team. Specifically, can't wait to see what he continues to do. We responded with 100%. We all agree with that. We will have Coach Wally back on before baseball season starts. We've been lucky enough that we have had him on quite a bit. Then we go into the thoughts on our jerseys. She said also ... These new designs were submitted about 3 days prior to Frost being hired. So there's absolutely no Frost influence in these. Everyone keeps forgetting that. Eric DeSalvo himself confirmed that. And so then I asked, what did you think of the final product? And she said, 2 black and white. The first, 4th, and 6th from left to right were the best. The first I only had, this was their little square graphic thing. The first I only as, let's see, I don't know what she was trying to write there. The light alternatives and the white with all gold lettering and gold helmet is pretty good. All night mode and then all black with gold helmet lettering are great, but others are super bland. And then lastly, she says, I love how everyone keeps comparing our jerseys to the O'Leary era and saying we're improving every year. And Roger had to reiterate about 4 times that we went from a 2.5 in the O'Leary era to 9.5, meaning jerseys with the Frost, and then 2 TMO were dropped down to like 5 or 6. And yet everyone email says Night Nation is whining, expects too much. Dude, all white jerseys are clean, sure, whatever that means. Every other school does white. Okay. So there's a lot more to it. I don't want to take up everybody, but shout out to Madame Boutique. I agree with you. Let's go back to 13. Like we said earlier, let's do 12 jerseys. I don't care. Like make it rain jerseys.
Let me make sure that's clear. You don't know what it means when a jersey is clean?
No.
Okay.
I know what it means. What I was talking about was when she went from 2.5 to 9.5.
Oh, okay. About that, I completely. I was like, Roger, I think you're.
Come on,
Roger,
bro.
you're more hip than that.
Yeah, fresh and clean, bro. Fresh and clean. So that's where it started, and then it just went to clean. So yeah, I agree. All whites are definitely clean. They're a clean look.
For a while.
Yeah, for a while. And Madame Boutique agrees. All right. I had one more football thing that I wanted to talk about that I forgot to mention. And this is about Danny White coming out and saying that he is now pushing and has a plan that he's trying to get approved for unionizing basically the players. So we talked about this, Andrew. I don't know if you remember. It's actually kind of cool that you're on, but we talked about how with this whole NIL thing, if it was going to happen, there should be a players union and there should be collective bargaining. And so what Danny White has done is, and he did this yesterday or the day before yesterday, I can't remember, but he came out and said that basically that he's pushing forward on wanting to have the players all come together and collectively bargain. So the idea behind that is if they have the ability to collectively bargain, then you take away some of the Title IX implications for that, right? And they can each collectively bargain on their own. And then you have uniformity basically on what players get paid, so you don't have so much disparity amongst the program. So I wanted to put that out there. What did you guys think about that idea?
Well, I mean, I guess what we're asking for is more regulation in this whole thing. So, I mean,
when we're getting that now, I mean, they've taken steps, right? So both for NIL and for...
Yeah, there's not a lot of solid rules though, which sucks. So I guess, I mean, maybe that's a step to more regulation of it.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, is that going to be unions per conference, per city?
No, they were talking about among FBS players, right? So I don't know if you divide that out with G5 and
right, but would it be one union or would it be it would
be one union representing the players?
All of them.
Yes.
Okay, well that would be better. I mean, that would be some uniformity at least.
I think that even the higher end schools like Tennessee with the bigger budgets or the SEC schools, right? We have our budget that we're operating with, but those schools are even getting tired of it because it keeps pushing, now that you've got the rev share, so the players are going to get a portion of that, and you've still got NIL on top of that. Now they've got a whole new
system. That you could make it fair, period, is a salary cap for schools. That's the only way you could make it fair.
Well, there is a salary cap, but there's not an NIL cap.
Well, then there's not
the salary cap basically is 20% of your media rights, which is still unfair in some ways, right? Because the SEC and the Big Ten have bigger media rights deals. So they, one's, I can't remember which one, but one of them is getting 70 million per school per year. We're getting probably around 42, 43, right? So you're already almost at half of what they can spend just based on that 20% cap. So, there is some stuff in there. NIL, they have the limit of $600. Everything over $600 now has to be evaluated by this new committee that they brought a president in from outside.
Like, has to be reported or whatever if it's
exactly. Yep. And has to be reviewed to make sure it's a real deal, that they're actually doing something for it, and they've got a whole process for it. And so there is some regulation that's coming to that. I personally like the collective bargaining. I think that that's where it should go. I think the schools are getting to the point where now they're being stretched, and even the donors are probably raising their hands a little bit because, the schools are now paying them. Plus they've got NIL to compete, and it's just going to go up and up and up and up until somebody puts something out there, even for the higher end, better resource schools. They need to put a cap on it because, again, that money that they have is going away from their operating budgets for things like maintaining or building add-ons on campus, or as football goes up, you've got Title IX implications. Some schools are cutting programs, right? Olympic programs, and doing things like that to be able to funnel that money into the football programs to pay to stay competitive. So it's eating away at the whole idea of collegiate sports in that way and providing less opportunities for other students. Now, UCF is actually using, and we talked about this 1 or 2 weeks ago, is actually creating new scholarships. A part of the money for the rev share is they're creating new scholarships. So that's good for the baseball program. That's good for like tennis program, etc. But we're already at the minimum number of programs that we can have and be FBS. But these schools like Stanford, any of those schools, even Texas, they're one of the highest paid, but they're going to have to start cutting programs to be able to funnel money into the football program to stay competitive. And I think that's what you're starting to see is they're hitting that upper limit where even these highly resourced programs are starting to feel the pinch.
Yeah, I love the concept. I mean, I've been a member of a couple of unions, currently one, and I was a FL-CIO back in the day up in New York. And at some point, there's a lot of leverage on the player side, if you will, but not as much as there could be if you were to collectively work together. And a mix between having that collective bargaining and having a set of rules where we can all agree to, like it would be good to get whatever it is, union otherwise, like the group of players together and the group of colleges or really conferences together with the NCAA and come in and have negotiations. That's what happened in good labor negotiations. You come together, you have ideas, you propose things. They go through a lot of revisions, and eventually you get to something you agree to, like the collective bargaining agreements of all the
college
major
kids. There's going to be a holdout like every freaking 5 minutes, though.
Yeah,
like, they'll be like,
that's
who knows? They're bring politics into it and everything else.
I think what it does do, though, guys, just as an aside, if there is collective bargaining there and there are limitations, you don't have these kids that are out here that are just hopping from school to school trying to get a bag. These highly recruited 5-stars that are trying to get a bag and hopping from school to school every year, and they're basically just trying to get people to outbid each other for that. So I think the coaches don't have as much control either, because it takes control away from the coaches, because you've got a kid that's making $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million
can you really coach a kid like that too? Like that?
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like
they're like the absolute end all be all because they made a bunch of freaking money to play college. I mean,
and that's exactly my point, right? So like
it's the NFL with no rules.
Yeah. So at the end,
that's what we have now. It's the problem.
I know they need contracts. Like there needs to be some rules as far as like when you can transfer, where you can transfer.
Well, there are some rules out there, right? And I will say that
I don't know them. I mean, I'm a pretty big college football fan, and I don't know one rule that they have, literally. I may just be ignorant, but like they're not well known if they have any rules.
Well, they do have rules. They're just not they're not consistent. They're by conference, right?
Where can I find them?
Conference bylaws.
Well,
I'm serious. That's where that's where they're at. They're not standard.
They're not listed on the NCAA website. There's nothing on there. So
no, it's
the NCAA has no control, really, right?
No, but they've been toothless for a long time.
That's the problem.
That's because that's what happens when the Invitational is a program that's taken out of the NCAA's framework or infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think what it does though is it gives some power back to the schools, because I think that the schools are now seeing that it's gone way too far the other way, and the way that they are pushing back instead of trying to, because they won't win in court, that's evident, right? So now that bubble has burst, the only way to control cost is to try to do collective bargaining, which that forces some of these players. You're not focusing all your money in the top 1 or 2 players that you're trying to get at every recruiting cycle, and it spreads that wealth a little bit more, and it gives the coaches a little bit more power back too. So I think overall it's a good thing, and I hope it happens. It'll be interesting to see if it does happen. It isn't going to happen anytime soon, right? But Danny White's pretty influential in the community. So was his dad as an AD. It'll be interesting to see if some form of this happens.
Something has to happen.
Yeah, I think
out of control. I mean, it's out of control.
Well, for them to make a change like that, they're going to have to get through the rev share program first, have the other things installed. So if we're going to see it, I'd say we probably see it 3 to 5 years from now, if there's some form of collective bargaining, because they have to give themselves, they just finished this other lawsuit. Well, now there's another lawsuit behind that for the Title IX implications, and they can't stay in court and continue to dole out money. They need to be able to control their costs. And the best way to do that is by doing collective bargaining agreements. I think it's good.
This is all the stuff this is all the conversation that is what's not cool about it. Like all of these things we're talking about is like what college sports were cool about. That was what was cool about it, because there was none of this. And now it's just out of control. It's
TV money.
In my lifetime, SMU got the death penalty, for paying players, and now everybody's getting paid and everybody's making up crazy numbers.
Well, SMU is also a power program simply because they bought their way in, and you look at their roster and what they're doing with their roster.
If you look at what happened with the Southwest Conference back in the day, that whole thing made kind of college football what it is today. That was a pivotal moment in college football. And it's gone from that extreme, though, is what I'm saying. It went from giving SMU the death penalty all the way to there being no rules and everybody's getting paid.
That's because the courts have gotten involved.
Yeah, if politics would have stayed out of college football would still be cool. It's it just sucks.
I don't think it's just, yes, and it's not just that. It really is TV. I mean, Bear Bryant wasn't making $10 million a year or the equivalent thereof in today's dollars coaching Alabama, right? That the money that's coming into this industry because there's an appetite for the product is begetting all these things. And
but is there such an appetite for the product anymore? Are they ruining it? I know a lot of people that don't even watch anymore. They won't watch college sports anymore because of it. I know people that tell me that.
I think we're getting to that limit. The answer is, I would be interested to see if the numbers are slowing down. They probably are, but is the churn enough? Now we're getting to business. Is the churn enough where they're going to say, well, is it worth $100 million a year to lower that churn, right? And live sports are significant advertising.
They're the only one. They're the only one.
No, I understand the business. Yeah. It just sucks.
I know. I know.
Well, it's back to knowing that you can't compete.
Well, at the end of the day, it goes
back to be really, really special. Like if Scott Frost put a really, really special team together again, we may be able to compete. But by the numbers, there's no chance.
Yeah.
So Andrew, it goes back to what you were saying. It's kind of cyclical. The NCAA controlled TV, right? Who showed up on what games, etc. at the beginning,
right?
Then the conferences got their TV rights. Once they got their TV rights, then they started shopping them around. Then there was a separation there, right? Even back when we were trying to join the Big East and all of that, there was the six. Then you had the playoff come in, and so what you saw, and we talked about this on the show way back when. I know you hated talking about this, but we did talk about it. And one of the things that I said would happen is that they would not be able to continue to escalate these conferences payouts. They would have to start focusing on brands as opposed to trying to control entire conferences. And so that's what you've seen, with ESPN, et cetera. And ESPN does not make money until the college playoff invitational, right? And I say that for a reason. It's an invitational. And so they are literally in the red until the TV revenue comes in. It's like the Super Bowl and how much money they make in ad revenue for the Super Bowl. So, it's all a piece of survival. Now,
You're
if the
saying all of ESPN's money is made on the championship thing?
not
The
all of it, but
Oh.
they are in the red until the college football playoff ad
Really?
revenue. Yeah.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah,
That's
they've been in.
interesting.
That's been when I talked about it on Nightline because I used
Well,
to
I
look
don't
at
remember. I probably wasn't listening.
probably, but I did because
Adorable.
I used to work for Disney and I saw their P&Ls, right? And so they did not make money until the Invitational because the ad revenue that they had in the Invitational. So even the Invitational now is getting to the point where they're going to have to start sharing that with some of the other TV providers too, because it's getting so expensive.
Yeah.
That's why you saw them focus on the SEC, right? So at the end of the day, had the TV rights stayed with the NCAA and there would be collective bargaining, then you wouldn't see so much conference movement. However, UCF may not have been a power conference team at this point had that been the case. So for us, it worked out.
Yeah.
I do hope we get to collective bargaining by the end of it. So I think we've beaten that horse to death.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
This episode. Let's go ahead and since we don't have Alan this week and his oxymoronic stat of the week, let's go ahead and swiv it. Now he doesn't do it. Oh my God. You're terrible. Dude, Josh's sometimes funny fact of the week. All right, Josh, take us away.
All right, so we are talking about all kinds of things that are UCF because literally there's nothing going on in sports. Last week we talked about the first building on campus, Roger, you remember? The first building.
I do remember the utility building. I can't believe you brought up the utility building.
Yes, it's true. But and we also talked about how chemistry is a building that has never changed its name since 1968. So another interesting thing, actually, I'll give you one of two. Actually, let me do this. In what year did the first woman lead student government at UCF? How about that? We have a couple others coming.
Oh my goodness.
Bro. There's nothing sports related.
There is no way I'm getting that without looking it up.
GPT, help me out.
Yeah, get general ideas. We've been around for...
Let's say 87.
87? Andrew?
I'll say 77.
Brandy Hollinger became the first woman to lead student government in 2007.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
One of her.
Listen, I was only off by 2 decades.
one of her.
Off by 3.
And actually, well, maybe no. This might be a little after you, Roger. She was the one that sponsored free printing on campus through the SGA, which I do definitely remember. As I was a little beyond graduate, but I had a lot of TAs at that time.
And yes, that was after I graduated, Josh.
Yes, I
was not on the 8-year plan.
Okay, I got a couple more for later, but like, what am I gonna do? Like, seriously, fun facts. That's all I got.
All right. Sometimes emphasis being on sometimes funny fact of the week. All right, let's go ahead and swiv it one last time to the quick update on other UCF sports that Alan does not watch.
And I looked everywhere for this. I tried to find information on esports, but their last thing was in early June.
If you're going for esports.
Hey, they've got cool jerseys.
Well, I guess they probably do have pretty good esports.
Actually, so right over here,
we do have a pretty good esports team.
Oh yeah, we do. This little guy over here actually is a little nitro that they put together as a fundraiser, and they had to sell enough of them, and that got onto the UCF sports board. I don't even know if it's that anymore. On 3, whatever, with Brandon Helwig and company, and we bought a lot of them, including me. I actually have 2 of them. I was looking at this UCF men's ice hockey team. No upcoming games. I couldn't find anything but one specific note. The only thing that has happened in UCF sports that are within things Alan does not watch is softball. And we had a softball signee, really a transfer, an outfielder and a pitcher, Carly Jo Penner from Kent State. She was an everyday starter in 2024, had a pretty good hitting streak, and her goal is to develop her offense here to her full potential through the guidance of our coaching staff. That's it. That's all I got. And I will tell you, there's a daily email that comes from UCF, and they are struggling too. Like they're talking like, what was the women's tennis team ending rank for the season? Like that's what they're going back to. Even they are having problems finding trivia.
I think I get that email, but it like goes to my spam at this point. 'Cause I have to open it.
Well,
I do like that daily email.
When I was doing Nightline, I would have like totally done it, but.
So I will say this, Josh, to build off of your esports thing. UCF is number 1 in North America on CSGO, number 3 and 4 in North America in Rocket League, Dota 2, number 9 in North America, Fortnite, number 4 in North America, Overwatch, number 7 in North America, Rainbow Six Siege. I didn't even know Rainbow Six was still around, number 10. And League of Legends top 50 national championships. UCF has Rainbow Six Siege team won 2 national championships. So
I have no idea. I apologize.
Yeah,
no, esports is huge. Well, it's huge in the Central Florida area. Period. Like, there's a whole arena over at I almost said Rollins College, Full Sail. They have like this huge esports arena that they built over there.
They have stuff there in Oviedo as well. In the mall, there's one there. There's actually in some of the colleges.
I admit it.
Some of the colleges have esports programs too, like the smaller colleges. They have there. It's almost like FCS versions of FBS football. They have. I went to one.
These guys getting paid too?
No, they can if they win, but most of it's pizza party.
Everybody's getting paid.
Everybody's getting paid. Well, you missed the boat, Andrew. You're too old to have gotten paid when you played for Kansas. So
I'm glad I didn't. I played for the name on the front and the name on the back. That's
there you go. All right. With that, I think that will conclude our show for this week. We'll have some more people come on board next week. We may get Brandon Hellwig to come on board maybe next week. And we do have some other guests that want to come on.
I tried.
Board. Yeah, no,
it's okay.
Today was not the day.
Not the day. I'm very hopeful.
I didn't realize the new platform was already on there. If I realized that, I would have been like, but it was supposed to be tomorrow. So now,
Now, the site was up there earlier this week. So it's been up there for a little bit.
The message board started today. So,
yeah,
like about 4 o'clock, I think is when I just happened to refresh and there was like 2 messages on there. And
I'm just waiting until they do the official turn off the lights at the old URL, and then I'll jump over. I'm hoping they do a redirect.
Oh, the dungeon's not there anymore.
It's gone. It's already gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
Since when? I was just on it.
Unless you have the direct URL.
That's what made me go to the other one.
Yeah, it's still up.
Did the redirect already?
Yeah, it redirects to the new one.
Oh, well, I'm in the dungeon right now. I just refreshed, and as of 11 minutes ago, there was a post here in the old forums.
Because the Rivals, if you go directly to the rivals.com/forum/the dungeon, you might still be able to get in, but you can still get in that way, except for because Brandon, there's a lot of toast to the old dungeon, and the transition is happening and all that stuff, and that's why this live thread, Roger, only had 20 views when you posted it, because everyone else wasn't going direct. But
not the actual stream, but what he's talking about is the post on the forum. So
correct, fair.
I posted something to the forum as well. So
awesome. Well, we need to get. I guess I'll have to start getting used to posting on On3 now. So toast to the dungeon. Many years of great conversations, terrible conversations, and good people that I've met in real life, and some of you. As well. Josh I met through the dungeon initially. and I met people from all over the country. So
You
great
probably
memories.
met me through there roundabout.
No, I met you originally through the podcast when you and Trace were doing the podcast, and I used to call in.
Right, but
Yeah.
okay.
This
I was on
So
the dungeon. That's the only reason you heard about it, probably. So
no, I don't remember how I found it, but it wasn't from the dungeon. But yeah, everybody's on there. It's a great place to be. Definitely support Brandon. He's that's how he makes his money, and he plays he has a lot of great history there. He's got breaking news. He knows more inside scoop than anybody. On to the On3 era. So with that being said, thank you everybody for joining. Make sure you follow. Make sure you're telling your friends. Go Knights and
charge on.
Charge on, baby. Oh,
Thanks for
nothing,
having me.
Josh? Nothing?
I was going to
Nothing?
see how long I could wait before I talked. I will